Is segregation really a bad thing? Is segregation really that bad? So let's talk about it. Because with this new executive order, it's like segregation is the new black. Like we're doing segregation again. But here's the problem. And there's one word that I want you to think about every time you hear the word segregation. Anytime you hear the words Jim Crow, anytime you hear the word separatism, I want you to think about this one word, okay? And I'm going to tell you what it is in a moment. See, segregation wasn't a problem because it was separate but not equal. That really wasn't even the main issue with segregation in the past. Jim Crow, apartheid, American apartheid, aka Jim Crow. It wasn't even that it was separate but not equal. It wasn't even that it was violence against Black people and Black communities, like bombing our neighborhoods and lynching and all of that kind of stuff. It wasn't even that. It wasn't even that segregation meant that Black people were lawfully viewed as unequal to white people and not equally human and not deserving of the same rights and privileges and access and opportunities. It wasn't even that. That's not what was the worst about segregation, aka American apartheid. The worst part of it was this one word. So every time you hear the word segregation, I want you to think about this one word. And that one word is sabotage. Sabotage. Say it with me. Sabotage. Segregation is not just separate, but also lawful violence against Black people from white people. It's not just that. It's about sabotage. It's about intentionally withholding, stopping, discontinuing, okay, access to funding, access to opportunities, access to resources, access to education, access to anything that allows people to live in peace, to flourish, to build our own and be successful in that, to take care of our own people in our own communities, to thrive, not just survive. It's called sabotage. So when you hear segregation, remember sabotage, because they don't just leave us alone. They don't just leave us alone if it's segregation. If they want us separate, it's not because they want it to be equal. They don't just leave us in peace. They come to sabotage. And that's what we see happening now. And that's what's been happening since the founding of this country, because they've never, ever, ever in history, and including the present day, ever been able to just leave Black people alone. Just leave us alone. You don't like us. You don't like us so much that you have to create laws and systems and policies and practices to hold us down. First of all, maybe you're not that great. You're anti-DEI, but maybe you're not that great. Maybe the problem isn't that DEI is the issue and DEI is unfair to white people, which it never has been, period. Okay? It's not that. Maybe it's just that you're not that great. You're not as great as you thought you were. It was the racism the whole time. It was the racism. It was the white privilege the whole time, but you thought you were so great. But then when you had to compete with us, you messed around and you found out maybe you're not that great actually. And you don't like that feeling because you've been told your whole entire life that by default, white people are better than Black people. White people are smarter than Black people. Maybe the reality is that you've never been better than us because in fact, even with all of these hundreds of years of oppression, of racial violence, of discrimination, of American apartheid, look at us. We're still here. We're still highly educated. We are still up in the ranks of the government as much as y'all try to keep us out of it. We are still excelling in so many different industries. We are still inventing and creating and discovering, breaking down barriers of all kinds. We are still innovating. We are still being who we truly are, which is great. We are great. That's why we're still here. That's why we've created so much. That's why we've contributed so much to the building of this country, which is why it's so wild to think that so many white people think the only way that you can thrive in your life, in society, in the government, in any aspect of this country is by holding us down, by oppressing us, by sabotaging us. When will you learn sabotaging us doesn't really help you at the end of the day? It really doesn't. Because first of all, you're not focused on yourselves. Y'all have a lot of healing that you need to do. And you can't be great if the only way that you're great is by pushing somebody else down, withholding rights and resources and access and opportunities and education and funding from other people. That's the only way that you can be great and do well and be successful. If the only way that you can be great is by holding other groups of people down, then maybe you're just not that great to begin with.